Well, good evening. 'Tis the drinker here, and I'm joined, well, by a lovely lady named Emily Booth, who's been kind enough to come in for this stream tonight. This is really one of those like happenstance kind of live streams where it all started like a few weeks ago when I had Dankula on. We were talking about Event Horizon, and we were lamenting the fact that there was, all this footage that they shot. There was like half an hour at least of footage that had been lost of this movie and all kinds of wild stuff that had been going on that we'll never get to see because the footage has been sadly destroyed. And yeah, it could have been a pretty wild horror movie, but such is life. But one of my subscribers, who was an absolute legend, emailed me and said, "Look, there's this British actress named Emily Booth who was in the movie, and she might be willing to chat about it." And I thought, well, I'll take a punt on this one, and I'll get in touch with her and see if she'd be willing to come on and do a little interview and talk a little bit about it. And she said yes. So hey, here we are. So what the hell? Let's bring her on and we can have a little chat. Hello there, Emily. Hey, I like it. You got your drink ready.
No, of course.
Yeah. Cheers to you.
Cheers, darling. Cheers.
No, it's great to have you on for this tonight.
You're not just the critical drinker. This is going to sound really awful. What's your real name?
I can't tell you my real name because my real name is Drinker. See?
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you. I've got because I write novels as well. So my fancy dancy author name is Will Jordan. So
Okay, Will Jordan.
That's what I go by. Yeah, when I'm not doing this. But yeah, when I'm on YouTube and I'm criticizing movies, I'm the drinker generally. So that's what works for me. But yeah, so like I know when this guy got in touch with me and emailed me and said like Emily Booth was in this this movie. I was like, that name is familiar, and I remembered you from being like a TV presenter rather than an actor. I remember you doing like bits. It was like a video game show. And that was, that was such a great bit of like late 90s, it was perfect video game culture show that I loved it. But yeah, I'll start, I guess, by staying on topic because I know people were curious to know about this. So obviously, you were in Event Horizon. You were in the second unit, which was responsible for all the crew log stuff, and basically when the previous crew fired up the ship for the first time, they went off to hell, and they kind of just they had a bad time there by the looks of things. And you don't get to see an awful lot of it in the finished cut. It's just little flashes here and there, but even that sounds pretty bad. And I know there's a much longer version that they did shoot, and I as try as I might, I couldn't find much about it on the internet. The only thing I was able to dig up was a quote from Jason Isaacs, who was in the movie, who said, and I'll repeat this one for you, just for a little bit of context here, because it sounds wild. It says, when he was talking about the director, he was doing things that were, I've no doubt, against the law. Certainly against every ethical and professional guild code. There were porn stars, there were amputees, there were people recruited from S&M clubs. There was some stuff going on in there. Every now and again, he would walk over to our set with a kind of Vietnam War 1,000-yard stare and go, "You wouldn't believe what I've been seeing this morning." So they shot lots of that stuff, and that's all he was willing to say.
Wow. Gosh. Some of that I knew, some of that I didn't know. But yeah, it all kind of sounds familiar. I think it was all pretty. It was legal. There was no actual.
No one died.
No one died. No one got hurt. I mean, we're talking Paramount Pictures here. So it was second unit. So Paul Anderson just visited the set and kind of gave his approval. So that was cool. I enjoyed meeting him. Yes, there were porn stars. I wasn't one of them. I got involved in a really different way, and I'll explain my involvement. It wasn't through casting or anything like that. I don't know about BDSM club participants. I'm sure there were. I was there for 2 days, so we shot solidly for like 2 days on an amazing stage. I've never seen anything like it. It was the 007 stage, obviously before it burnt down. And what can only be described as not completely life-size, but almost life-size spaceship. So we're going back to, I think, is it 1997?
Yeah, that's when the movie came out. So you're talking 25 years ago.
Yeah, so it had quite an official 25-year anniversary kind of celebration a few months ago, because I did a little thing on Event Horizon as well for my patrons. And you have to remember that this is before this kind of before the digital age really kind of took a hold of things, and that becomes very relevant as well, as to why there is no more of this footage. Like everything, when they say like rushes, they really were rushes. They were working with VHS tapes. I mean, I don't mean the final film, but when they were looking through rushes and stuff like that, stuff was on VHS. Things, for example, DVDs. I can't believe this, but DVDs hadn't even like massively taken off, because the director was saying there wasn't this huge need or call for extras or behind the scenes or interviews with the stars. They weren't really doing that on the set.
Yeah.
So again, that's another reason why they weren't thinking, even with the I think with various re-releases, the studios weren't saying, what are your extras? So they weren't looked after, and they were very, very hardcore. I don't know, I did read up on it all. It is still an 18, I think.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff we were doing was just, I mean, there were dicks everywhere and nudity everywhere. There was rape scenes, rape turning into cannibalism. They called it the Visions of Hell sequence.
Yeah.
So I was the Visions of Hell girl. But just quickly, because I just met some amazing people. I had the best time that weekend. It was so much fun. But actually, so this is quite exclusive. This is a photo from, I don't know if you guys can see this. This is the actual backstage in the SFX department. And the SFX guy, Duncan, who's done amazing stuff. He worked on the Revenant? No.
Revenant, yeah.
Revenant, he did all the Leonardo DiCaprio bear stuff. Anyway, so he was in charge of this, and that's me bending over backwards and being worked on by one of the SFX guys. I'm not sure who this guy is. He's either one of the body actors or it's Sam Neill. Because everyone had to have a body cast. Everybody.
Yeah. So was this done for the for that sequence where you get to see the crew log, or was this something else? Because the way you're kind of stood there, like with your arms like behind you, it's like.
Oh no, I'm going backwards. So
okay.
That was a really hard. But so basically, the way I got onto film was Duncan was working on Pervarella, I think. So Pervarella was my first movie, and they needed some very, very broad-minded people to be naked, to do body casting. So I was brought in as literally a spare body, and they did loads of body castings on me, and I could get myself into all these horrible death positions. So these are death positions for so that was me.
All right. Yeah, some of this looks kind of familiar.
That one is me.
Right, okay.
You can't. I'm sort of backwards, and there's a spike going through my stomach.
Right. So that's a body cast of you.
Yeah. So this was the Visions of Hell. So originally, I was just on all the time on the in the SFX room, having my body cast in horrible positions, because you have to be able to hold your position for half an hour while they create the cast.
Yeah.
And then they just said, "Hey, do you want to, be promoted and be one of the crew?" And I was like, yeah, hell yeah. That's how I got another little role, sort of a role.
So what were you doing in that, like when you got promoted into doing that crew role? Like what were you doing there?
I guess they didn't worry too much about who was doing what in continuity, because effectively I had 2 deaths. I was the girl. Oh, it's not in this picture. I don't think there's a flash of me. There's a flash. It's like a second.
This is what's so annoying, because there was probably much more originally, but like they cut everything down to just like little flashes, like a couple of frames, and that's all you get.
the money they must have spent. We're talking, I don't know about millions, but possibly, maybe not millions, but the money they spent on that was immense. It was immense. They had a huge amount of actors. We were asked to do like fight scenes. They just wanted us to go nuts for 2 days in the dark. We were directed, but my main key scene was a sort of, sounds really awful, but we were all just having fun. A sort of rape scene.
Nothing screams fun like a rape scene, you know?
It wasn't. The thing is, it wasn't actually supposed to be. And I hate using that word too much, but it wasn't kind of a rape scene. It was supposed to be like everybody had just gone really, really animal and primitive.
Yeah.
So it was more like chaos.
It's just kind of like mutual destruction, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not like mutual rape or whatever. So there was this nasty sort of sex scene going on, but very animalistic. So just weird.
Yeah.
And then I had to lurch up, and I mean, this is where it was very specifically kind of choreographed, and I had to bite this man's throat and pull his esophagus out.
Nice, as you do.
Yeah, and it was all specially done, and the special effects were so, oh my god. So that was one of my death scenes, and the other one was they did even more work on it, where I had to go and see a dentist, an SFX dentist, and they did a huge cast of my mouth, where there was a huge rusty, wasn't rusty, it was plastic, but it like rusty, what do you call it? Thing that goes like that.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Like that thing that you get in dentists and stuff.
Yeah, it was like a clamp thing.
Mm-hmm.
It looked really horrible, and so I had one of those put in my mouth. It was really like it looked really horrible. I looked like a horse because I got big teeth anyway. And and then a dentist is sort of, I don't know if is he doing dentistry? He couldn't have been doing dentistry. I think he was either drilling into my mouth or he's like pulling teeth out.
Oh, okay.
Well, I had this very elaborate thing on. So again, I think it was supposed to just be literally your worst nightmares, your worst fears, and that didn't make the cut at all. So yeah, I went to the cinema, really nervous actually, because when I did the film, I was still at university, and
well, I was going to say you must have been crazy young when you did that, because this movie was what 25 years ago already. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I was 20.
Yeah.
I was in my first year. I'd just done Pervarella, and then, as I say, the same guys who worked on Pervarella were like, we're doing this great Event Horizon job. So that's how I got Event Horizon, because they knew I was quite easy to work with. And at the time, I was very easy with nudity. And that was the big thing. They needed people to be really, really easygoing with nudity, which is obviously why they hired some adult film actors.
Yeah. I tell you, man, it's such an interesting thing to see. Like, man, I must have been like 14 or something when I saw it for the first time. It scared the shit out of me, but this idea that like it's not like some monster eating them or something. It's like they're all just doing it to each other. It's like it's woken the most horrible animalistic parts of their own minds, and they were probably like this crew that went there. They were probably all just good people before that, but like it turned them into just these like animals that just tore each other apart.
Yeah.
I think that's quite a cool idea for a horror film. Really.
It's quite Lovecraftian. I mean, I didn't realise it was Lovecraftian, and I don't know if it was consciously Lovecraftian. But yeah, Paul Anderson had a really, it was quite deep, really. So yeah, you go through this black hole, which obviously no man has ever done or could survive, and it just brings out the worst fears in you, and they manifest in a real way. I mean, of course, it doesn't make sense, but then it doesn't have to.
No, we talked about this on the stream a few weeks ago.
Back then was so imaginative, and as I say, Lovecraftian. It was this sort of cosmic fear of being completely out of control and these huge forces of nature that we know nothing about. So yeah, there is the deep side of it if you want to go there.
Yeah. I always loved the reaction of Lawrence Fishburne when that whole scene plays out, like, because they're watching this play back to them on the crew log, and he just switches it off and goes, we're leaving. That's him done.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I did hear that a lot of the because there was so much violent things going on for 2 days. It had to be what's called a closed set. Sorry, my son keeps coming in. Finley, please, can you not go? Please, darling. Finn, this is like a job.
You should put this in your area.
Finn,
Put this in your area.
I can give you a minute if you want to. If you want to, like.
Turn it off. Bye, bye, darling. So, they just don't leave me alone, literally. Yeah, I know that all these stars, like the real stars, not us, the real stars doing proper stuff and getting good money. They were all saying, "Can we come on set?" Like I know Sam Neill and Sean Pertwee were trying to come onto our stage, and they were like, "Nope, sorry." Like even they weren't allowed on.
Yeah, I mean, really, like if yeah, everyone's like naked and stuff. It's like you don't really want that many people to see you while you're doing all this stuff, I imagine. So yeah, that kind of makes sense.
I mean, yeah. I think by that point we probably didn't, we were like, we've kind of shown it all now. But yeah, they did respect. That's what I mean. It was a very professional shoot.
I feel like you would, when you've done something like that, you'd just never be embarrassed about anything ever after that. It's like, well, I've done this, so
I never have been. It's weird. I don't. Yeah, I must have been an exhibitionist when I was younger. I didn't. Nothing like that bothered me. I just enjoyed it. I found it really liberating. Made loads of friends. I was taken out to dinner afterwards with Sam Neill and everyone, and they treated us. And yeah, it was a very good experience. Nice. I didn't realise at the time, I didn't really think, oh, this is going to be a big film and it's Paramount Pictures and it's going to be in the cinemas. So in a way, I was glad that all my scenes were not like, I watched it in Leicester Square on my own like this, thinking, what have I done? What if my mum sees this, or my dad, anyone that I know can watch this? So when I just saw this flash of me going like that, and that's meant to be me eating someone's esophagus, and I was like, oh my God, that was it. And I was like, okay, that's a shame there's not more, but equally, I haven't ruined my career.
Yeah. I did wonder, yeah, like what would be the reaction, because it's like, well, we did all this stuff, we put in all this time and effort, and I want to see what they end up with, and then you just get it, and it's like a quick flash, and it's over. And was there?
He didn't even edit. I think it's literally a few frames that he put in.
Yeah, it's from what I understand, it's the executives at Paramount. They did like a screening, like a rough cut of the film. With all the gore and all the really nasty bits in, and they were like appalled by it, because this is this is the 90s. Like it was not as broad-minded, I suppose, as you would get later, and they were like, no, we have to cut this. There's no way we can release it like it is, and he was put on a ridiculously tight time scale to get it finished. Like post-production was really short, and that's why they were so extreme with their cuts, because they didn't have time to like figure out a more sensible way of doing it.
There's lots of stuff interesting scenes that got cut apparently, like Sam Neill doing his weird. He does this weird kind of exorcist backwards spider walk or something. I mean,
I've seen a little bit of that. Yeah, it was kind of unfinished, but it looked really cool. Yeah. Just like a really unnatural kind of. It reminded me of The Ring. When the little girl kind of crawls out of things and like she can contort into weird positions and stuff.
Yeah. It was a really exciting film to work on, because, as I say, the spaceship that you see everything was real. There wasn't any CGI, as far as I know. There probably was, but in terms of being on set, every single button was completely for real. Like, and the design of it was incredible. So that room where the thing's spinning around.
The core. Yeah, the engine core,
real, and that bright orange kind of weird, I don't know if it's supposed to be some womb exit or whatever, that kind of bright orange thing with loads of panels. That was all real. It was all real. And we were just running around it.
Well, I think this was obviously done before, CGI was really like it is now. And so instead of, a CGI spaceship, it would be like a model that they would track the camera around. The sets were all practical and all that, like you say. And I guess you know, the set that you guys shot on was probably the same set, just the bridge of the ship that the main actors were on. You know,
Yeah.
like with all the control panels and all that other stuff. You know, and that's where you get this big, you know, orgy where the previous crew just all kill each other.
Yes.
So yeah, you
Yeah.
must have had fun like destroying that place a little bit. You know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of blood splats and people throwing intestines at you and stuff like that. But yeah, it was really good to work on. I'm quite proud that I did it. And people always, you know, often say, "Oh, did you know it was going to be this? And did you know it was going to be cold?" Of course, you never know. I knew
Yeah.
it was a studio production, but that's kind of all I knew. And it's a shame that. So that if people are asking, though, unfortunately, there will never be a director's cut unless they actually refilmed those scenes, because the footage wasn't lost, bizarrely. And this, I mean, you couldn't make it up. For some reason, I read it was being kept in some sort of mine in Transylvania.
That's true, yeah.
We're talking real celluloid, like cans of celluloid. Nothing was digitized. So in a way, it's a sort of product of its own time. It's not tragedy, you know what I mean? The problem.
It's a shame. It's a shame it happened. I think the idea was like you could store them in salt mines because they were very dry and very cool underground, so it was like meant to be the ideal environment.
Yeah, miles away from Paramount Pictures, and I don't know why you would store it there. Why? But it's just all really damaged now. There's I've seen a few things that they've saved on the internet of some of my scenes.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is apparently there is possibly one VHS tape floating around Hollywood somewhere.
Come on, like if there's someone who out there watching this who has possession of that VHS tape, mail it to the drinker. I will give you my PO box, and like we'll do a screening.
It'll be a producer or someone like that. I don't know. I've heard there is a VHS out there of just the raw yeah, the rushes. So
Yeah.
it will have the time code on and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean it'll probably be in like, you know, super low resolution, which is a shame, but you know, it's yeah, man, it's just one of those little what ifs, you know, if they'd only done it a few years later and it was digitized, it's like, well, all that stuff would have been saved, and you know, they could have
made more effort with saving the footage if they thought, oh, this is going to be a fantastic extra, even if it can't make the actual film.
Yeah.
But it was just on the cusp. It was just before that time.
Yeah. It's yeah, and the thing is, I don't think they could even remake it. I just don't think they would do stuff like that these days, like something as extreme as that. It's
No, I guess not. No, it's darkly imaginative. I really liked it, and yeah, I don't know if it would get made now.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously, like, you know, that was like one little thing that you did. But you've had this like huge career, like over the past like 25 years since then, you know. And like I said before, like I remembered you as a presenter. You know, you did lots of like horror shows, TV, video game stuff. Yeah, like how did that come about after all this?
Yeah, it's really weird. None of it's been intentional. So the first two things I did were Peverella and Event Horizon, so they were movies. And I was doing a degree in film studies, so I went to Goldsmiths and did film studies, and I thought I was going to sort of go into production or TV. And then what did I do? Then I wrote to live TV, which was like, again, we're going back a long time, like 98 or something, and it was like one of the first cable channels. There was about 6 cable channels, and this was Night Street Porter's slightly naughty post 9 p.m. sexy channel. And I went and asked for work experience or to be a runner, so I could learn my ropes and become a floor manager. And honestly, it's one of those stories that you just, I don't know, it just sounds like a dream, but they had me in for an interview, and they sort of looked at me and they're, do you know what, you could do a month of volunteering and work experience, but they're doing presenter auditions right now down the corridor. You should go and audition for Blue Review, which was a sort of Barry Norman, the sex movies show.
Yeah.
And I auditioned and I got that. So I ended up not really going down the production route. I just got into presenting.
I love that idea. It's like, well, you can do shitty work experience, or you can be a TV
Oh, you can
presenter.
try this.
Let me think.
I couldn't prepare. I didn't, it was just an opportunity that came my way. So I was really lucky. And even though live TV was pretty rubbish in a way, it had, oh my God, talk about not being woke. It's like the opposite of woke.
That's what made it fun, though. This is the thing. Like when you talk about bits and stuff, like 90s TV shows, man, they were just fun. You just don't get that now.
The 90s was the last fun decade. I think it was the last decade that could really poke fun at itself, and people weren't offended all the time. And yes, I mean, maybe every boring old person thinks that their decade was like the last fun decade, but honestly,
that's true. But ours literally was like.
It really was though. But they had a dwarf jumping on a trampoline so it could reach a map of Britain to tell the weather. And then they had the weather, and then they had the news in Norwegian or something, and then they had a business girl who would do the business like FTSE 100, but she'd strip at the same time. I mean, it's really. It's so, I mean, it's all sort of Wolf of Wall Street kind of stuff. But you know what? I cut my teeth on presenting there, and again, I never felt exploited there. We all had an awful lot of fun. There were so many opportunities, so many. You just go up to someone and say, "Hey, I've got an idea. Here's a pitch on a piece of paper."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, let's make a pilot and let's do it. It was just everything was really easy. I think.
Yeah.
Now.
It felt like I don't know, man. Like obviously you were behind the scenes and you know more about it than me, but it felt like everything was just kind of being worked out on the fly because it was that time when like the internet was just starting to take off and like it was like this kind of whole new world of like nobody quite knew what it was going to be and everyone was just like, yeah, fuck it, let's try new things, let's just experiment a little bit and like have a bit of fun. And it's just I miss that. I really miss that in TV.
I think it was a decade of being a little bit I don't know if I could say punk, but like definitely off the wall and a bit irreverent and a bit just a bit crazy. I mean, I'm not going to go on and on about it, but even like 90s adverts were just weird. 90s music, rave scene, ladette culture, that was quite. I think I did quite well because I kind of represented that ladette thing. So it was Denise Van Elton was getting stuff.
Yeah, I remember Denise. Yeah,
was going on, and the Word and the girly show and bits came off the back of that because it was all about girls doing guys stuff. So obviously, with the video game show, they thought they were being radical, having 3 girls present a video game show. Now it wouldn't be seen as woke enough. Because
man, like I would have taken you guys over like G4 TV or any of that crap like any day of the week. Like, man, you're just way more fun. I remember that.
It was fun. It was fun. I'm glad I was a part of it. It's over now. It won't happen again. But there you go.
Yeah. No, it's great to get to do it. I mean, like, are you still into the video game industry? Do you still keep keep up with it?
I'm not. I mean, while I was doing the show bits, which was 2 years filming in Glasgow, I was really into it because I had to be, because it was such a small crew. We didn't really have researchers. And people asked us this all the time, and we definitely played the games and we definitely wrote all our own reviews because no one else would do it for us. We wrote the whole script. We wrote the news, everything. And so I was into games then because I was playing them every week. And because I'm a horror fan, I thought, right, well, I'll get into horror gaming. So I wasn't necessarily into a lot of the other shoot 'em ups and stuff, but I loved all the Silent Hills and Resident Evils and that kind of thing.
Yes. Perfect.
But I'm not doing it now. No, it took over. It just consumed my life for 2 years, and yeah, I don't do video gaming now. I was more of the movie stuff. I was always more interested in horror films, and luckily that's what took over after bits I did Out There and Shock Movie Massacre.
Yeah, because I remember especially when they would do these like countdown shows, like the 50 greatest horror movies ever and stuff. I remember seeing you getting interviewed on things like that, and be talking about like zombie cannibals massacre, things like that. So like I guess that was your passion then, was like horror movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I did my dissertation at uni was like women in horror. I can't, it sounds really vague. I'm sure it was something more than that, but I was genuinely a horror fan and have been since I was about 11. So yeah, I sort of academically, I kind of knew my stuff as well. And so it was weird. I sort of just crafted this career, although none of it was intentional, between doing the odd film and then presenting. But because I never trained as an actress or anything, I would just always suffer imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Still do. I still do, where you're like, oh, I'm not trained. I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I here? All of those things. So I feel like I'm probably a better presenter than an actor. Probably.
I don't know. I mean, like, well, I want to see you bite someone's esophagus out, and then I'll decide, if you're a good actress.
Yeah, well, this is the good thing with horror, is that you get to do some really amazing physical action stuff. That's the one thing that horror has given female actors, is that you get to do not just stupid scream queen stuff. You get to really work physically.
Yeah.
And on a low budget one, they don't have stunt people. You just do everything. So like right now, you fall down the stairs, and you're like, okay.
Yeah. The only time I want to fall down the stairs is from like too many of these,
Just have the camera rolling, and then you can stick it on YouTube.
Yeah. It's like watch the critical drinker get like paraplegic and critically injure himself. But yeah, I mean, I guess when it comes to horror, because I've discussed this with various people, like especially in the run up to Halloween, because we were doing a lot of horror coverage. Like, what is your like favorite genre of horror? Because I kind of I err away from things like the Saw movies, where it's all just gore and torture porn. Like it just doesn't do anything for me. I just find that kind of depressing. Like I really like movies that build a tense atmosphere and give you like occasional jump scares and just make you feel like that sense of dread. I think that's the most effective kind of horror for me. But like each person's different, I guess.
I've had to watch so many. I think, in my career, like for interviews or whatever. But personally, I do really like a good ghost story, full of atmosphere. I love a good gothic ghost story. I'm pretty bored of vampires and zombies, to be honest with you, unless someone does something new. Like I loved 28 Days Later when it came out, because it moved the genre on a little bit. And I know that people are a little bit. There are some films that really divide people. Martyrs is the biggest one that will divide people, and Hereditary and Midsummer. I mean, people are so divided on that. But yeah, I love films also though that have a bit of mythos behind them, or a bit of mythology, because I just love all that stuff. So anything which has a transformation that is a bit animalistic or that does something clever, like Ginger Snaps.
I remember that. Yeah, she turns into a werewolf, doesn't she?
Yeah, they kind of made these correlations between the moon and the cycle and the werewolf and all things. And I was like, God, yeah, why has this never been noticed before? So yeah, there's certain films that I love in that way, where you see body horror. I guess I really like a bit of body horror, a bit of Cronenberg.
Yeah. When you're talking about transformations, I suppose the one people always reference is the American Werewolf in London, where he starts to turn into the werewolf, and it's all done through animatronics and makeup effects and stuff. And it's just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, and very difficult for Rick Baker because he wanted it to be done during the day in daylight. John Landis, it was so normally these scenes are in the forest and it's dark, and the SFX people can get away with quite a lot, but because this was like in a lounge in broad daylight, so that was one of the biggest challenges I think for him, was to make every hair real, and everything had to be smooth and realistic and perfect looking. And I think it's certainly the first film, I think, to win an Oscar, first horror to get an Oscar for the special effects.
Yeah, yeah. When I think about things like that, and The Thing as well,
Oh, I love
again,
this thing.
yeah, yeah, just John Carpenter, that brilliant atmosphere of fear and paranoia. Like, you don't know
Yeah,
who's infected by this thing, but also the transformation sequences are just
exactly.
incredible.
Real effects, and they're all gloopy, and you can practically smell them when you watch them, and the noises that they would use. And so, yeah, I'm a massive fan of just the art, really, the artistry behind proper SFX and animatronics. I admire it massively.
Yeah,
These
yeah.
people are real artists.
I
And
um
so, yeah.
I was lucky enough to have Neil Marshall on
Oh
a
yeah.
few months back, who directed Dog Soldiers, because that's one of my favorite. Like, I don't even know if I'd call it a horror movie. It's like a horror comedy action film. Like, it's a bit of everything. I
Yeah.
just love it though. It's so fun. The dialogue is like sharp as a tack, and again, like the the action sequences are all just done with practical effects and all pyrotechnics and all that stuff. And I think it's so well done for such a low budget movie. It's
Yeah.
a real great sort of benchmark of, like, I think this is a thing with British horror particularly. Like, we don't have the budgets of like big Hollywood productions usually. But then it gets reflected in just resourcefulness and making the most of what they have, and just like, being a bit smarter about it and playing on the audience's fears rather than just bombarding them with like spectacle. I think that's a great
Yeah,
way of
yeah.
doing things like this.
You might get happy accident as well as when there isn't all the budget. But then it's funny because if you ask a director, though, a director would say, like my friend Jake West, who did Evil Aliens and Doghouse, and he's doing really well with the Midnight Peep Show now. But honestly, a director would love to have more budget. They hate all the budget restraints, even
Yeah.
if it makes it makes it look like your heart's really in it and it's a labor of love. It's like, they still have to live and pay the bills and get things done. And being on a low budget movie set, it is hard work. Especially for the director, they don't really relax or sleep till it's done. They're all like insomniacs for a month, basically. It's really mental.
I don't doubt it. Like, I'd imagine, because they're constantly stressing, like, oh my god, are we just going to run out of money before we've even finished this thing?
Yeah, it is a massive stress to constantly worry about the money stuff. Yeah, and I've been on a set where it's like people walked off because the money stopped coming in. They stopped paying the crew, so everything was on pause then for like a week, and we were just waiting to start again.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
should be dead, and then it started again, and yeah, so yeah, it's always like a real sore subject for people working on low budget movies, but
I was
then sometimes you get lucky and you get sort of taken on and you get to do other stuff. But sometimes it doesn't end so well. Like, who was it? There's a guy who did Monsters, which was brilliant, and he did it all on his own. I've forgotten his name. And then he suddenly went from one film. So it was his first film was Monsters, which he did using his own like computer CGI, like a bedroom horror.
hmm.
And then that film led him to getting the next Godzilla movie. I've forgotten his name now because I'm drinking. It's your
All right, hold on. I'll tell you.
So
So you did
anyway,
Monster first, yeah?
he did
Uh,
Monsters and then he went on to Godzilla, and I don't know what's happening with him next, but it doesn't always end well. The Soska sisters, they're great to talk to. You should talk to them.
okay.
They're fabulous.
Um,
Yeah, I mean they've just been doing like Cronenberg's, like remaking Cronenberg's films.
okay.
So
Um,
they're one to watch for sure.
I was going to ask you as well, like, in terms of not just the horror genre, but just like the movie industry in general now. Obviously, it's very different from what it was in the late 90s when something like Event Horizon came out. It's very dominated by just like one or two studios. You've got Disney, who basically owns everything at this point. They do Marvel, they do all the Star Wars stuff. And it just kind of feels like it's movies that come off a factory assembly line. Like, what's your take on that? Like, what do you feel about movies nowadays? Is there any films that have come out in the past couple of years that you've actually been excited to see, or are you just
Well, I think you'd have to. I mean, they're still happening, but you have to. Really, the only you have to go to the festivals to see any really
yeah,
like new and exciting stuff being done. But I did read recently that again this. No, I'm not against progression occurring because we need progress. If we didn't have progress, women still wouldn't be voting, etc. We need progress in society, absolutely. But I did read a really interesting article, and it was basically saying how extreme woke culture has become. It's really minimizing what scripts actually end up being funded.
yeah,
Because if your script does not hit certain things, criterion, it's just it's just put in the bin, so to speak, or put to one side. So I would definitely say that it's affecting the sort of stuff getting made is not necessarily safe, but they have to. If you don't tick certain boxes for characters and who's in it, it won't get the light of day. It won't see the light of day. So I guess there's a bit less.
I've heard, yeah, I've
Risks
heard,
being made.
I've heard, yeah. When it comes to this kind of thing, like I've heard very similar things from various other people, and I hate this idea of art reduced to a series of rules that you have to follow, because it was interestingly enough when I was talking about Event Horizon, the guy that was on, he talked about a thing called the Hays Code, which they had back in America in like the 40s and 50s, and it was like kind of the opposite end of that spectrum, where it was like this ultra conservative like set of rules about what you could do in movies. Like, for example, you couldn't show a gay couple or anything like that. It was crazy. You couldn't show an interracial relationship because it was like the 40s and 50s. That was just unacceptable. And if you did try and put any of that into your film, your movie would get basically blacklisted. It would just never get anywhere. So again, like it stifles artistic freedom, it stifles creativity in the same way. But then now you've got the opposite problem where it's like, again, you're mandating that, you have to have this certain level of diverse casting, you have to have certain roles for certain people, you have to portray, women or minorities in a certain way. It's all just stuff that like ties the hands behind the backs of the writers, because it's like they just want to tell a story. Like they shouldn't have to like try and negotiate this crazy labyrinth of different rules and stuff to just get to that point where they can make a film.
Yeah, I mean, and filmmaking shouldn't necessarily have to be about what is and isn't fair.
Yeah.
My friend, interestingly, talking about, I don't know anything about the film, the world of publishing and literature, but I have a good friend who is a very successful writer, and she's been working in the world of sort of teen fiction in that sort of Percy Jackson kind of field. I won't say who it is, but she's recently been told that she should no longer write children's fiction. She's too old, even though she's already established, and they only want young, kind of funky people who know their Instagram and stuff like that. And the other thing that really, really shocked me, I didn't even know this was a job. This is an official job in the publishing world. Every book, especially for that kind of young teen market, I guess it's like the 9 to 13, Harry Potter kind of market, they have what's called sensitivity readers. That's their name. They're called sensitivity readers. And
I can see where this is going.
No, she's been told she can't use the word crazy. She can't use, what was it, barbaric or something? Loads of words and arse or ass, like loads of little things. And she was like, I've had it. I can't work with this anymore. So she's going right into doing adult horror now, and I'm going to be working with her on a project soon. But I just couldn't believe that. And she said it's shocking. She said you have no idea the censorship that's actually going on.
Yeah, it's disgusting, and it's so unnecessary. Like it's like implying that the whole writing industry just couldn't survive up until a few years ago when they finally figured out how to make everything right. It's just yeah, like I say, it's stifling creativity. It's an awful thing, but it kind of feels like it's a self-defeating strategy because ultimately audiences get bored of it. Like the stuff that they're getting shown now is so dull and it's so safe and it's so corporatized. People
Yeah,
just tune out.
I know. There's so much superhero stuff.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, you don't have to tell me.
It's too much. What was I actually looking for? I was looking forward to one, and maybe it was good, but I didn't love it. Called the Eternals.
Oh Christ, no, it wasn't good. Yeah, your instincts are right. That was garbage.
Well, I love Angelina Jolie. I just do. I adore her. I have a massive crush on her, and she was in it, and I thought that's surprising. She doesn't normally do that kind of thing. And I did like Maleficent. I
Yeah,
like
well,
it.
that was good. Yeah, I liked
Yeah,
it.
I quite Disney and Cruella. I mean, that was there's some really cool stuff going on actually. I have to say. I mean, I know I'm talking about stuff that totally isn't horror, and I'm only watching it because I've got children. But honestly, people out there who are horror people who would never touch Cruella, it's so fucking cool. It's amazing. So there is some, obviously some good mainstream stuff happening, but it's few and far between.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
there's something I'm really looking forward to.
I
No,
no, I got nothing. I wish I could say to you like, oh, there's this movie on the horizon. I mean, the I guess the next big thing that comes out is probably going to be Avatar 2, and
I
you
didn't love
know,
Avatar 1 though.
nah, I didn't either. I was just like, it looks lovely, but it's just basically Dances with Wolves, but with blue people on an
Oh,
alien planet.
blue. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. I guess you're just gonna have to go to the festivals to find the horror festivals to find the really good.
I think so, yeah. I saw a really good, really low budget horror movie. They did a special screening over in Edinburgh, I think during the summer, and it was it called Censor? I think it might have been called Censor. Anyway, it was like one of those people who, like, back in the 80s, their job was to censor all those video nasties, where it was like really cheap, really exploitative horror movies, and her job was to, like, say like, oh well, we need like 20% less eviscerations in
Yeah,
this film, all that stuff. But then she starts having all these crazy visions of like this stuff happening in her real life, and you're not sure what's real and what isn't. And it was just like, a low budget but really kind of cool, inventive horror movie. And
yeah,
I thought, great, I missed things like that. That was nice. But I'll never see that get a mainstream release. It's just a little festival thing, like you say.
yeah. But again, it's going back to an era that was more interesting, like the sort of video nasties time.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start getting very reflective. Well, our generation will. I pity my kids' generation. I'm like, your generation is so boring.
Yeah, well, at least we had the grounding of like, the 80s and 90s, and we grew up with that, and those were our movies that we had. And so we know about them, and like all this other stuff we can recognize that it's shit, but like, yeah, like you say, the next generation that's just growing up with this is going to be their benchmark for what good movies are, and that's terrifying.
But it's interesting that like Stranger Things took off in such a massive way, like to the point where my children are like, oh, I wish I'd been in the 80s. I love, they all going on about the 80s and how cool it was, apart from the fact that they're like, they find it odd. I was like, phones didn't exist.
Yeah, there was no internet, there was no mobile phones.
That's so weird. Like I was like, we didn't have the internet, and like the funny thing is, we're like one of the last generations who can. We're at that divide where it's like I remember pre-digital age and the digital age. Our kids will never know that. It's never, that crossover is never going to happen again. I mean, God, the next age I read is going to be the transhuman age. That's one we've got to be looking out for. That's
we'll all be
in about 20 years.
we'll all be cyborgs or something. I don't know. Like, I'm hoping that
it's not going to be like Terminator 2. It'll probably be a bit more subtle than that.
I wish it was, though. I'd like to be that liquid Terminator that can just walk through walls and things. That'd be great. Yeah, I'm hoping that they find a cure for aging by the time I get to that point. So we'll see.
With your sunglasses, you're fine.
Yeah. Hides all the lines, Yeah, totally. But I mean, it's just, yeah, man. What I try to do with my channel especially my second channel, because I got two, and criticize modern movies, but also like reference like one the occasional good film that does come out today, and also draw people's attention to, hey, there's this movie from 30 years ago that was really good, and here's why, and like you should maybe check it out. And a lot of my audience might know about it already. Some of them will message me and say like, hey, I never would have bothered watching this, but I did on your recommendation, and it was fucking awesome. And it's great. It makes me feel good to spread that kind of enjoyment for people.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, man, I guess you do what you can, I suppose. But I know, like, while we've been chatting away here, I know we've kind of ignored chat, and I apologize, chat. I know you've been talking away while we've been doing this, but there's been a bunch of super chats that have come in, like questions for me, you, and stuff. If you've got a little bit of time, I can put them to you and see what you say. All right, cool. Yeah, while the wine is flowing, let's just do it. Okay, just give me a second while I bring up the list, because it usually takes a second or two to load. All right. Talk amongst yourselves, chat.
Talk amongst yourselves, chaps. Do we have any ladies?
Well, let's find out. Like, let's do a poll. If there's any ladies in chat, make yourselves known. Press yes, so we know. Okay, so we have got... While that comes up, I'm going to see if anyone actually does that, by the way. Because there's always a slight delay between what we say and then what comes up on chat. Ah, there we go. Nikki says yes. Major Malfunction says, yes, I'm a lady.
I'm a lady.
Yeah, we do. According to YouTube's analytics, 5% of my audience are female, so there's bound to be a few. All right. So, anyway, while we're doing that, the first one that comes up is Ghost in the Craig, who says, love Event Horizon, wish we can someday get that damned footage. Cheers and welcome to Emily Booth. P.S. Also, Drinker, I did a video answering some of those questions about Wakanda Forever that you posed, and it's on my channel. Well, thank you, man. I'll take a look at that, because I had a lot of questions after watching that film. It didn't make an awful lot of sense to me. RRTNZ says, hail Drinker and Emily, another great VIP lounge. Question for Emily. If there's time, what were the best and worst things about filming Event Horizon? Cheers.
Best and worst things. Best thing. I think the best thing was just feeling, still to this day, it's probably the most professional, A-list, big, massive budget thing I've ever worked on. So that was, as I said, that was an honour to be taken around the spaceship, by Paul Anderson, or whatever was Paul Anderson, and meeting Sam Neill, and just knowing that I was working on a proper shoot as opposed to groveling around and eating pot noodles and not really not getting paid and things like that. So that was that wasn't the best bet. It was just being involved in such a massive artistic process. As I said, you can have another look. There you go. Me nice. Being that, but I was surrounded by weird bodies and amazing artists, and I really loved. I do have a dark side to myself, and I loved that absolute liberation. Not the right word. Oops.
You're on the right channel for this, trust me.
Total uncensored freedom to do stuff. I mean, obviously there wasn't any real sex going on or anything like that, but we were catfighting. We were really just kicking each other and pulling each other's hair, and then getting drunk and laughing about it, and then getting naked, and no one cared, and it was fun, and there were dicks flying around everywhere, and it was just this kind of crazy fun time. I didn't not like any of it, really. The only thing that I found really hard was, again, it's the last time I'm going to show you this, that pose that I held. It doesn't look like much, but I had to go into the crab position, a backward arch position, which is what gymnasts have to do, and I had to hold it for so long, and I got the worst backache, even though I was only about 19 or 20. That was the only downside, Suffering.
I tell you, man, if I tried to do that pose now, I just fall over and like,
Oh
you know,
no,
have to
so
get.
was I used to be very bendy, and then I had children and they ruined it. But yeah, I used to be very, very, very flexible, which is why I was doing all their body weird death poses.
Yeah. God's cosmic bollock. Yeah, God's cosmic bollock says, "I've been a fan of Emily Booth since the days of Bits. Amazing." Yeah. Rebecca Gold says, "Hi, Ems. It's Ian, the guy that directed you in that cheesy horror film, Fallen Angels. Good to see you on Drinker's channel."
What? It's Ian.
Apparently, yes.
Hello. Yeah. I haven't seen the film, but I believe, yeah, he's still doing good movies and stuff. Yeah, that was actually a fun shoot. That was a really fun shoot doing Fallen Angels with Jeff Fahey.
Jeff Fahey. Oh, nice. I liked him from his Lawnmower Man days.
I got to work with Michael Ironside, so that was quite good. Fallen Angels, yeah.
Oh yeah. I always had this thing with Michael Ironside, right? He seems to lose a limb in every movie that I've ever seen him in. Did it happen to him in this one?
I think well, hang on. Was he happened in Starship Troopers? Definitely.
Yeah. It happened in Total Recall. It happened in The Machinist. It didn't happen in Top Gun, so I'll give him that. He was all right in that one.
He didn't lose a limb in this. I think he was a policeman. I don't know. I can't remember most of these old films. These old films I did.
Yeah. The next one is JC Denton, who says, "Beware coward, Emily was awesome back in the day on Bits." There you go. Everyone wants Bits to come back. Honestly,
the amount of people who wanted to go, that will never happen. It just wouldn't anyway. People always say to me, they like, bring back Bits, and I'm like, A, none of us want to. B,
well, that's a stumbling block, yeah.
Yeah, B, it's not up to us. People that always makes me laugh. It's like they sort of ask the actors or presenters or whatever like to do something, and it's like, that's really good of you, but you need to talk to Channel 4 because it's not down to us.
The thing is, it's a different world now. You don't need permission anymore. You can launch it on YouTube if you want to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, I'm re-showing a lot of the Bits episodes on my Patreon channel, which I should promote. So all the I'm doing all my backwards catalogue stuff. So Out There, Shot Movie Massacre, Bits. I'm releasing them all on Patreon. So it is largely for people who miss that world of crazy, irreverent, off the wall 90s TV, where everything was a bit like everything was quite studenty, wasn't it? It was like designed.
Yes, but that's what made it good. I missed that. I really missed that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things have changed, though. You know, you could talk about not smoking in pubs, people going to pubs less, people drinking at home more. So,
I drink in pubs and at home. It's all right. Yeah. Either one's fine.
When I was working, people would always say, "Oh, we want to get the post-pub audience, so that's why you need to be on at midnight and before 2."
Right? Yeah.
When people are drunk enough to watch you, but they've had time to get home and have a kebab. So yeah, midnight, 12:30. That's when I was on usually.
So it's a good market, I think. Primitive Point of View says Cradle of Fear, is that a different Emily Booth?
No.
Wait. Yeah.
That's
okay.
me.
Okay. Kiernoth says Emily could have voiced the character of Bayonetta. So that was from a video game.
Oh.
I think she's a posh English lady, so there you go. You could have done that. Black Sun says, "Can you believe that they were going to cast LL Cool J as Blade for Wesley Snipes? Before Wesley Snipes. Wonder what kind of movie that would have made." Yeah, for me, Wesley Snipes is always going to be Blade, and Marshala Ali, he's not going to replace him. And I think that movie's been shit canned anyway. So yeah. The first two Blade movies were fantastic. The third one was a bit.
I'm getting my people confused. Wesley Snipes. Didn't he get into loads of trouble on a film? I'm sure it was him.
Well, how much time have you got?
Tax evasion and all sorts.
He got imprisoned for tax evasion for a few years.
Gallow Walkers, that was it.
Yeah, he was a bit of a troublemaker on the set of Blade 3. He fucking hated the director, wouldn't talk to him, was uncooperative. He spent a lot of time in his trailer, just smoking a few. And I think other actors had to kind of take up a lot of his lines and just do his job for him. But it worked out well for Ryan Reynolds, who basically got the movie. Like, that was the film that made
Is
him.
that what launched him?
Pretty much. I think he'd done Van Wilder before that, but, like, yeah, that
Yeah,
was that was the thing.
I like Ryan Reynolds. He's good with comedy as well.
Well, I think that's what he did with this. Like he kind of just plays Ryan Reynolds in every film that he's in, and it's okay, it's fine, up to a point. He's kind of like I like him in small doses.
Haven't they said that about Sean Connery? Like, people have always joked about that. Like, Sean Connery, he's just Scottish all the time. Whatever film he's in, can't be asked to change the old accent.
He's not gonna change that accent, because he can do Scottish accent, and that's his lot. So it's the first time I ever saw a Scottish Russian in Hunt for Red October, but he made it work. But yeah, it was when he tried to do an Irish accent for The Untouchables that was rough. Ryan Benoit says, as a horror fan, I also know where one can get great key art for such projects. Cheers. Okay, thank you. Kay says, Drinker, please go on Timcast IRL podcast and their sister podcast Pop Culture Crisis. Right up your alley, and they'll provide scotch. They're expecting you from my super chat to them on last night's podcast. 2 million subscribers. Because Tim Pool's just knocking at my door, and I'm like, nah, Tim, you can come back another time. It's funny, like, he and I share a lot of similar views, so I'd be totally up for going on Timcast, but not been asked yet. So what can I say? Big Dave K says, I have a review suggestion for you. Pig. It's starring Nicolas Cage. It's a bit of a slow burn, but it's very poignant. Also, don't forget that voice line. Oh shit, yeah, I need to do that.
What's the voice line?
So, yeah, when I'm doing my reviews, I've got the critical drinker voice, and I'm always drunk like this. But yeah, this guy has produced an animation of like a sort of anthropomorphized hyena with my voice lines behind it, but he needs me to record a bit more dialogue for it. So I need to do
that now.
What's that?
You need to do that now.
Not right now while we're on stream. I'll do that later.
Okay.
I don't know how that slipped me by. Actually, I'm really sorry, Big Dave K. I apologize, my dudes, because you've done great stuff. It's weird, all the weird and wonderful projects that come your way when you're doing this sort of thing.
I know, and what's amazing is the fans out there, because like just little things. I shouldn't, it looks like I'm not trying to show off at all. I'm really not. But like, I've got there's so many creative, lovely people on Twitter. I don't know what's going on with Twitter, but I'm a bit worried. But like, my friend just gave me this. This is a drawing. That's pretty good, isn't it?
Oh, really? Damn, that's a good drawing.
I look a bit,
that's cool.
Obviously a bit evil, but I go to conventions and I get really weird things. Like, somebody gave me a cake of my head, like edible cake.
What does one do with such a gift?
It was a bit like, I didn't know what to do, so I felt wrong cutting it. I think I might have eaten an eyeball, but yeah, it's just people out there are amazing, who are your fans, and they love what you do, and they give you stuff, and they make you stuff. And I've had people make up amazing posters for me, and all they want is a credit. And I just want to say a massive cheers and thank you to all the creatives out there who are keeping things fun right now.
Absolutely. We could all do with a bit more fun in the world today. But yeah, I'll plug your Patreon as well because we
Yeah.
should because you've given up an hour of your time to do this. But
Well,
yeah, there's a link to Emily's Patreon in the description for this. So don't open it in a new tab. Don't go away from this stream. Stay with us for now. But yeah, click on it and yeah, give her a little bit of support because then you're going to get basically all this, the not just all these episodes of bits and like previous TV shows and stuff from a time when TV was actually fun. But I imagine like you'll get like a chance to message Emily, chat with her about all the films and stuff that she's been in.
yeah,
So
we do monthly TV watch-alongs. This Friday, I'm doing a big Q&A where the best, funniest question gets a big bundle of signed photos and DVDs. And on the top tier, they get personalized one-to-one chats with me or messages. So people have started they become buddies, they become friends, and I'm also becoming a burlesque dancer. So
well, tell us more, Emily.
my alter ego,
Nice.
my alter ego
Cool.
is Emily Booth. No, Medea Lestrange. So yeah, Medea Lestrange is doing a few weird things at the moment.
Nice.
Namely dancing and a bit of stripping. And yeah, I'm also doing something called the Midnight Storyteller, which is original horror stories that I regale from my chaise longue. So yeah, there's a few things that Medea Lestrange is getting up to. She's great.
Do you have a YouTube channel as well? 'Cause I wasn't sure.
I kind of do. I haven't really used it for ages.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I need a tech person. Yeah. I have got one, and there's stuff on there. But now I'm just on Patreon.
Okay. No, that's cool. I wasn't sure if I was missing that, and I'd forgotten to like let people know about it or whatever.
Yeah, I have. It's just Emily Booth, I think. Yeah, I haven't. I need to utilize it more.
Yeah.
For
We need
sure.
to get you on open bar sometime. That'd be great fun. That'd be awesome.
Open bar.
Yeah, so that's like so obviously I do these occasionally, like these VIP lounges where I've got like an actor or something in. But then open bar is the main sort of live stream that I do once every couple of weeks, and we get various other YouTubers and stuff in. We usually get about, I don't know, 12, 14,000 people watching us live, and then we re-upload it to the second channel. But yeah, like it's good to get just like a range of guests in, and we can talk about whatever's going on in the world of entertainment at the time. But you're a TV presenter, so you know how to do it.
A round table, but just online.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like what we've got here. It's just there'll be more people involved. So yeah, it's just kind of a chat, and it's there's usually a lot of alcohol involved, and yeah, it's whoever can kind of get more drunk and shout the loudest. It's great. It's good fun, you know.
Yeah, I just get more drunk and more lewd and
Perfect.
worrying.
You'll fit right in. Let me do a couple more of these super chats here as they were coming in. So yeah. Master Malrubius says, "This is a great stream. Miss Booth is a wonderful interview. Having a great time listening while I work." There we go. We're keeping someone amused in his job. Chronic Dreams says, "Love James Cameron until he started preaching how we peasants need to live with less for the survival of the earth. This coming from a guy who owns multiple mansions, a helicopter, submarines, and a jet." Yeah. Don't you love it? Like, you've maybe encountered this as well.
I interviewed James Cameron.
Yes? What was it like?
I can't remember what it's for now. It's not awful. What the fuck was it for? It might have been for Avatar. Because I've interviewed quite a lot of the big names, and it's quite scary, actually, because you have no idea if they're going to be fabulous or arseholes or whatever.
Yeah.
He was fine. And I said to him, "Oh well, I'm a presenter, but every now and then I do work in film. And as a brilliant director, what's your biggest tip for actors when you direct them?" And he just went, "Always bring it down a tone," which is actually really hard for me because I'm such an animated person. But it's really true. It's like the whole less is more thing is massive in acting. It's almost become a competition between actors, like who can steal the scene by just by just like one tiny thing, a tiny quirk or whatever. But anyway, yeah, that was his advice to me.
Was
You
he?
haven't learned how to bring it down.
Yeah. Well, you know, the wine always kicks in, but like, yeah, like, you know, I always imagine like sometimes with these people, like they're totally different when you're talking to them just face to face, and then when the camera starts rolling and you're doing your interview, they sort of transform into like interview mode or entertainment mode.
Yes,
Does that happen?
Americans are trained in media, in how to see the media. They're very trained, and you can tell. They've got sound bites that they learn from their PR people. So they'll have a sound bite like what's the, you know, what the movie is about. They'll have a synopsis, and someone will say, "Oh, I need that a bit shorter," and they'll be able to do it. I mean, it's completely different to interviewing some bumbling British like keen person who's just done their first movie.
Yeah.
Word in edgeways. They're great. They're fine. They're very media savvy for sure.
Yeah.
You can tell, you know.
Yeah. It is funny that difference between Brits and Americans. Like Americans are so much more confident.
They're one big press release, basically.
Yeah. It's no, it's really interesting. The next one is from Vladimir Taylor, who says, "Drinker, in Rogue Elements, will Ryan's actor get green contact lenses for book realism? You said you weren't looking forward to any upcoming movies, but I'm looking forward to Rogue Elements, Emily. Cheers to you." Yeah, so how can I put this quickly? Rogue Elements is like the short film that I'm producing, or, you know, I've written the script and stuff for. Basically,
I saw it on Twitter.
What's that, sorry?
I've been looking.
Yeah. So yeah, basically got in touch with some directors and stuff. I wrote a script for it. We did a Kickstarter. Our goal was to reach £20,000, like just really basic, just enough to pay the crew and stuff, so we could shoot a short film. We hit 300,000 before the thing was over. And so yeah, we've suddenly got a lot of money to like blow stuff up. So I'm looking forward to it. It's great.
300,000. That's way above. Of course.
Yeah.
Get 15% or something, don't they, or 7%? Because I do Kickstarter. I mean, so they should. They're your platform, but yeah.
They I think they keep like 5% or something. Like they do get a certain amount, but like there'll be enough, more than enough for us to do what we want to do, because it's like a 25-30 minute short.
And what are your benefits though? Because that's what takes time. Have you promised things like that are easy to do?
Yeah, so like I don't have to get naked or anything like that, so that's a bonus for everyone involved, I would say. But yeah, like the benefits are like from the lowest level up to like you get behind the scenes footage of the actors preparing, us doing like pre-production, location scouting, all that stuff that goes into making a movie. There's going to be 4K downloads of it. People who've backed it will get advanced screenings of it. They get the higher tiers, they get to have direct kind of interviews with me or the director or whatever. They can just chat to us one-to-one, all that stuff. So there's things in place for basically everyone. And yeah, I'm going to be very busy next year doing all this stuff.
Well done. Congratulations. What's Rogue Elements about then?
So it's like a kind of action thriller, basically. So the books that I've written as an author, they're all like spy Born Legacy type stuff, like all the CIA, the War on Terror, that sort of thing. And so this short film that we come up with is almost like a little standalone story that sits within that. We've got most of the main characters from the books. The main character, he's got to infiltrate like an enemy base and rescue a target. But then there's all kinds of complications. Nobody's quite what they seem to be, and there's betrayals and stuff like that. So,
and this is all a short film. How short is short?
It's about 30 minutes. It's going to be.
Oh, a long short.
A long short, yeah. It was originally like 15 minutes when we thought we were going to have fuck all money to spend, and then we did this and realized we had a lot more. So I rewrote the script. Yeah.
You were talking about like films and the industry that we're in now, and like what's the industry doing. I know. Hang on a thing. I know from talking to both actors and directors is that TV is now having its golden age boom. Well, it's already had its boom, and it was
has, yeah.
Game of Thrones that really did that. So a lot of people actually want to get into the whole what's the next big mini series.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people are actually trying to go into that kind of thing. Even A-listers like Nicole Kidman and people like that, they want to do a really good TV series that has 12 episodes and series 2 and series 3 for various reasons, because that seems to be what people want to watch now.
What we're getting into now as well is I don't know what they call it, but it's like I think some people have referred it to the Iron Age of crowdfunding entertainment. Whereas, like, before, if you wanted to make a movie or a TV show, whatever it is, you'd need to get like investors. You need to be a movie studio. You need money. Like, you need millions of dollars to make it. Now we're starting to get into this realm where you can crowdfund things, and you can say like, "This is my idea. This is what I want to do. If people are willing to back it, well, we can all be part of it, and we can make it happen." And so this is starting to happen with comic books. It's starting to happen with graphic novels, and with things like what I'm doing with Rogue Elements. It's starting to happen with film and TV, and it's a really interesting prospect because you can get your fans to essentially help fund something like this. Oh, hey, man. I better not swear right now.
Well, try not to, but they are used to it.
But yeah, it opens a lot of doors because if I can do it, basically other people can do it as well. And so, like, maybe this is the next area of how we're going to produce entertainment. It's going to be done democratically almost.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. We're entering a subscription age as well, which is, well, that's what Patreon told me.
Yeah.
It's more about getting, if you are a creator, it's like, why, don't create things just for free. If you're good at it and you do good stuff, get people on board and let them feel like they, well, not let them feel, but let them be part of the creative process. Without sounding, obviously patronizing or anything like that, but it's much more of a sort of teamwork thing. And it's like, screw the middleman and screw the bosses and screw the studios. We've all been victims of people shutting the door on you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does feel good to take back a little bit of control.
Well, it's good to know that you don't need those people anymore to some extent. It can be done. And I think the more it's done and the more success that people see with it, the more it's going to open the door for other people to start doing this sort of thing. And yeah, you're not going to need some asshole, producer in Hollywood who, hasn't interacted with like a working class person in like 20 years, like to greenlight something like this. Like, it can just happen through what people believe in and what they want to support.
Yeah,
because ultimately,
you don't want a sensitivity reader, I imagine, reading your script and saying no.
Really don't, no. And I think, again,
we don't want that.
Well, there's a lot of momentum behind that that mindset of, yeah, fuck you, we don't need your permission, we're going to make the thing we want to make, we don't care who it offends, it's about making something that's entertaining for the majority of people. That's what we're going to do, and you're not going to stop us. And that's a pretty good feeling. And I think a lot of people will get behind that because that's what everyone wants to do ultimately. It's like, I just want to be entertained. I want good stories. I want good movies. I want good TV shows. I don't want to be preached at.
Yeah, there's too much finger pointing and telling off going on at the moment. So that's really good. So I will follow the story of. So I guess it's already crowdfunded by the sounds of it.
We're done, yeah.
I would like to be. I will follow your adventures and production.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
I know, like, I don't want to keep too much of your time because I know you only had a certain amount of time for this tonight. I'm just kind of going through the super chats, but if you need to finish, just let me know. I don't want to like keep you hanging on here.
Well, if there's any questions, I'll answer them. And then what's the time? I'll get my kids to bed because they're always
Okay.
Oh, I'm the worst.
I don't want them losing their minds over this because I'm keeping you.
I'm not. I'm not the best mum. So my kids are 11 and 8, and they've already seen Halloween and Alien.
Nice.
I know it's really bad though, but they loved it. Well, my 11-year-old said of Alien, it's a bit slow paced, and I was like, what now?
Yeah.
But they loved Halloween. Absolutely loved it. It's like their favorite horror.
Oh, Halloween's great fun. Yeah, I just reviewed it recently, actually.
They've seen all the Stranger Things. So all the mums at our kids' school are like, great. So you've let your kids watch Stranger Things. Now my kids want to watch Stranger Things, and I don't want my kids to watch Stranger Things. So I'm the bad mum that makes all the kids ask their mums if they can watch all the bad stuff.
Yeah, but your kids are officially cooler than all the other ones because they've seen all these movies now. Yeah, and you just have to look at them and just go, I was in Event Horizon, motherfucker. What are you going to do?
No, they're great. I mean, there's this one story. Just being a horror mom, I find a story in itself. So it was the end of the school year. My son was only 6, and the teacher said, "Right, end of year, we're gonna watch a film. What does everyone want to watch?" And people, the kids were going Minions and da da da.
Yeah.
My son put his hand up and said, "Shed of the Dead. My mum's in it." Teachers now all know what I do, and obviously they don't want to watch Shed of the Dead. I wouldn't even let my kids watch it. I mean, I'm getting a bikini wax and my pubes get stuck on someone's head. And... it gets awkward.
What have the other mums done though? That's like a little badge of honor, I would say.
I know. Yeah. Okay. If there's any more questions, I'm happy to do that. What is it?
All right.
Your leg isn't twisted.
No, it feels
Right.
like it's just been chopped off though. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'll do the next one. So the next one was for you, from Ivo, who says, Emily, I'd love if you send me a digital copy of that making of picture that you showed for the last time, and I'll draw you an awesome horror version of it. So I guess that was the one where you're in the sort of
This
makeup
one,
department.
I'll have to ask permission. This isn't my photo.
Okay.
This is Duncan. I told you about Duncan. He was the SFX. I don't know, head of SFX on this film, and he's quite big and famous now in the SFX world, and he's given me this. So I don't know. You have to be really careful with not pissing people off with these things.
Yeah.
I'll ask him, and you would drinker man, you will have to send me the details.
Okay. But yeah, if it's any consolation, only 3,000 people have seen it, like, while you showed it off, so it's fine. Rebecca Gold says Michael Ironside had a sword run through him. Fallen Angels is on my YouTube channel called Rebecca Gold. You can watch it there. Oh, nice.
Nice, Rebecca Gold. Is this Ian?
I think so. Yes.
Well, Alexis, can I have it now?
You can have that.
With the rest of it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Just drink it. Sorry.
And next one was from Fabio Giarno, who says Hollywood is dead and Japan is the big deal now. I would like to see you review some anime titles. Suggestions: Jobless Reincarnation, RE0, To Your Eternity, Licorice Recoil, and Demon Slayer. I mean, man, if I had the time, because I know like things like anime are just absolutely destroying like the US industry. Like they're just doing so much better. But yeah, I just got to find the time to watch it.
Well, that's not new, is it? I mean, J-horror is always, Hollywood is often copied. Like,
Yes, because there's so much, there's so much more creative, I think.
Yeah, which is
Space
weird. They're a bit slightly messed up as well, aren't they? Really, it's like they've got a weird culture, haven't they?
They've got quite a conformist culture, but then it kind of manifests, like when they rebel against that, like it manifests in the most insane like drinking sprees and stuff. Like they just.
This is the thing with us Brits. I keep saying on Twitter, like all we do is moan. Like we don't really revolt, or
No.
It's like the time is, the time is to create a counterculture. If you're annoyed with something, do something culturally or politically. Like, we just sit around and moan and bitch about things. I hate it.
Yeah,
So,
it's the British way. Like I loved it. I think it was in Shaun of the Dead where Sean's mum says, "I don't want to make a fuss," and that was the most
yeah,
British thing ever. Like they don't want to. Yeah, they don't want to complain.
I know.
Here's a good question for you though. From Rico-san says, "Any cool stories from the set of Don't? How were Edgar Wright and Nick Frost to work with?"
Yeah, there was. That's another example of a very small shoot where I had a small role that was actually the biggest in terms of budget and, just like how huge everything was. So it was called Don't, which this is a good question. I don't know if anyone knows what trailer it was based on. Do you, Critical Drinker Man?
No, so this was one of those trailers for
It's
it was one of the Grindhouse ones from Tarantino,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
it's in between Planet Terror and Death Proof. So
I don't know what it was based on though.
it's based on The Burning. So if you go onto YouTube now and type The Burning original 1980 slasher, it'll be like, don't. No, yeah, if you're thinking of going away this summer, don't. If you're thinking of don't. And he just takes it a level too far. And he just wanted people he'd worked with. So the really cool story with that is that Edgar Wright, massively famous and successful now, he started up on Pervarella, which was my first film. So I met Edgar Wright on as a 19-year-old student on Pervarella, and I didn't know him. I think he was just an extra or something at the time, and then he got famous and and he asked me to be on Don't, the trailer. I'm supposed to be the scene I'm in is supposed to be a kind of Dario Argento-esque movie where it's very gothic and there's wind coming through the windows and the lightning's going and the thunder's going and I'm wearing a sexy stupid nightie, it's all a bit like whoops, and I'm running away from a very hairy sort of werewolf man, for want of a better, hairy scary man, who is Michael Smiley, who's quite famous. And apparently, again, this wouldn't happen now because everyone's like, oh, shock horror. But Edgar sort of tentatively came up to me and was like, would you mind if when he catches up with you? So there's a bit where I'm against the wall and the hairy man has got me. And he goes, if he kind of just gropes you and it's all a bit groping. And I went, well, I'd be disappointed if he didn't, Edgar.
Yeah. So you're speaking to an Event Horizon veteran right here.
Yeah, that's nothing. So I was quite happy with Michael having a good old grope there. It's fine. It was all fun. It was all great. Yeah. And I didn't know who he was actually until recently. I was like, that was Michael Smiley. He's like done loads.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I love that. What's this here? Rick Cruz says Drinker and Emily both representing Tony Scott films. Well, why not? He does fucking awesome stuff. Topek899 says nice chemistry there. You should make a stream together sometime. Indeed, we should. Yes. Alfarius Omegon says Avatar is just Princess Mononoke with misanthropy. Yeah, you're not far off actually with that. I did like Princess Mononoke though. That was probably the superior story. Greenridge Security says no questions, just thanks for the content. Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Bloke with Superpowers says from Disney and I hope the pup as well. Here, get them something from us. Is there anything regarding entertainment that you've always wanted to talk about but feel like you can't on this platform? I don't know if that's for me or you, to be honest, but put it to both of us, really.
Anything we can't talk about?
Yeah, or like anything regarding the world of entertainment now that you feel like you want to say but you can't.
Well, yeah, you can't.
This is where we have to be really careful because we can't say it.
And you can't offend anyone. I'm confused with pronouns. I don't want to be like my parents' generation who are accused of racism. I don't want to be one of those old fuddy-duddies who doesn't get what's going on in in society now. But yeah, I am catching up. I'm still trying to catch up with how things are moving, I guess.
I don't think we'll ever catch up. Really.
Well, does it?
Yeah. Oh damn! I got a dog.
I will usually answer most questions. Oh, you have a skinny dog.
Yeah, that's a greyhound. I've got 2 critical doggos, so this is one of them.
I love dogs. Do you do dogs and not kids?
Well, well, you know, I can talk to you about that later. But yeah, but yeah, like these are like they're always fun for the live streams, you know, because they tend to just like roll over and stuff and do stupid things, so it's always good.
That's what my son does. He just turns up and. Oh. I love animals. I really do. I really do.
Yeah.
I'd love to get a dog, but I've got a cat. I'm not sure it would blend very well.
Okay. Yeah, I probably wouldn't in that case. Caleb Carroll says crowdfunding comes with complete responsibility too, though. One bad movie could end a career when the price of admission is more than the box office ticket for a consumer. That is true, yeah. So, like, you're kind of under pressure to produce something really good if you can. Ashernabog says, did you get to meet Rutger Hauer on the set of Reverend?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't think anyone did. Oh God, the Reverend. I'm really sorry whoever made it. It's a terrible, terrible film, and it's really sorry. But I was in it, but that's because they paid me quite well, and I was pregnant while I was doing it, and I needed the money. And do you know what some low budget people do is they literally have 100 grand. We're going back a few years, but they have say they have 100 or 200 grand. We're talking about for a feature film. They will literally the strategy is to get a name, a name-ish name, a cult name or an American, so that you can get the American market interested. And you say, we only need you for a day, 1 day maximum, everything's paid for, you'll get 20 grand. And they literally put most of the budget in that. So they can use the name and put them on the DVD sleeve. He's in like a few seconds of it.
Yeah.
And he's on the DVD sleeve and it's like starring Rutger Hauer. It really
also, also known as the Bruce Willis approach. And, you know, I know he had his issues towards the end, but yeah, that was basically what he did. Yeah. It's purely a financial thing, like you say. It's not about creativity.
No one got to meet him, I don't think.
Yeah. There's only a couple more and then we'll finish up. So Dripfed says, since everyone is asking, cast Emily in your film, you Scottish legend, you. Yeah. Well,
okay, go on.
We can talk, I'm sure. Dissident Agnostic says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate the scene from Alien where Sigourney Weaver gets into her spacesuit wearing only her underwear? Yeah, they were pretty gratuitous with that crotch shot, I remember from back in the day. Yeah, it was. I
don't think that. I just see the expression of her face and her singing that weird song, Lucky Star.
Yeah, there's that stuff is really well done, but there's like this scene, and I don't know why they chose to shoot it this way, or I've got a slight inkling, but you know, they shot it from this really low angle where she's got to get into the spacesuit in like in a closet kind of thing, and yeah, like the camera is just for some reason it's right in her crotch for some reason, and it's really like over the top.
I have watched it again recently, but at least she's in just like normal astronaut standard pants. Like,
yes, exactly. Yeah, standard issue astronaut pants.
If she was an Ann Summers wear, but she is just sort of in her basic stuff. And also, there's a lot of if you want to go very deep with the alien thing, there's a lot of stuff about the mother.
Yes.
The womb. There's all of those imagery going on, and that vulnerability. So you could get all academic and say that, or you could say they just wanted to get a crotch shot. Depends on what side of the fence you want to be on.
In an interesting way, both explanations kind of work. And this is the final one. Says Jason Ray T says, how was the doghouse shoot? Loved your snipper.
Again, what are you doing? Don't smoke that. It's only a prop.
That's fine then.
It's a hookup.
We don't advocate for that sort of thing on this channel. I only have to say that contractually because YouTube will demonetize me.
Doghouse shoot was you go to bed. The
Oh,
doghouse
I'm
shoots.
tired.
Not tired. No, I am. Mummy is. The doghouse.
Yeah, we'll finish up. Yeah.
Amazing fun. It was another big one where we were on set in a really amazing location. Working on a Jake West movie is amazing fun. So we were working on a genuine disused hospital where Boris Karloff died. So it was
Nice.
it was a really cool old hospital for TV. And Boris Karloff died there, and that's where we filmed everything. And but it was hard in terms of like we would get up at noon, be in the makeup room by 3 p.m. Makeup was a 5-hour job, on set by 9ish because it was the summer and everything was a night shoot. Start filming 10, 11, film till 5, an hour to take all the makeup off, latex masks, and then from 6 a.m. till 11 a.m. we would party in the on-site pub.
Nice. I like that.
Doing his all sorts, and there was great fun. It's good fun.
I like it. I like it.
Fun shoot. Thank you. And I learned we learned a lot of stuff. Like the girls had to go to zombie boot camp.
Zombie training.
Zombie boot camp. Yeah, we did 2 days of zombie boot camp where we had to think about our characters and all that crap. Like, who were you beforehand? So I was a hairdresser and I was a little bit tarty. So all my moves were quite sort of slinky with her scissors. So you'd have to try and get into the physicality of your role, which sounds truly wanky, but it was all fun.
Oh, it sounds good. It really does. Well, I mean, that brings us to the end of the super chats. So I just want to say, man, thank you, Emily, for coming on for this. This has been awesome talking to you.
Me. It's really nice to reminisce.
Yeah, man. I like if you ever choose to bring bits back, do it. I think it'd be awesome.
Alex doesn't want to. Emily doesn't. They just no.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I would meet the girls again if they were up for it, but we've all gone on to completely different careers. Alex has done really well with her digital human stuff, and I don't know what Emily does. I think she designs games now. So yeah.
No, but no, thank you for doing this, and yeah, as a reminder for everyone who's watching, there's a link to Emily's Patreon in the description. So like if you want like loads more behind the scenes stuff, like all the episodes of her previous TV shows, all that stuff, you can get that there. So please do consider giving her a follow. But yeah, thank you for everyone who's donated tonight. Thank you for all the super chats. Thanks for everyone who's joined us. And yeah, I'll stop waffling now and I'll finish up so you can put your kid to bed.
Oh, it was fun. Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Drinker.
Thank you. And for us,
cheers. Good luck on your long short film.
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to be watching that in anticipation.
And for us, that's all we've got for today. So go away now.